I breathe in and I'm like, Jesus loves you.
Then we breathe out leh.
Indeed,
Jesus?
he does. Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of To Be Honest. Today we'll be talking about mental health and faith. So we have with us Joyce, who is a Senior Mental Health Counsellor at Clarity. So she's been with Clarity for 10 years now, and she's been helping individuals work through their mental health conditions. We also have Father Charles, who is a Jesuit priest, and the Jesuits are known for their Ignatian spirituality, and from there also spiritual direction. But Father Charles also has a background in counselling, psychology, and family therapy. So pretty impressive credentials here. So today we've decided to speak about mental health and faith, I think, because amongst our peers we've realized, right, that more and more people are struggling with mental health nowadays. And so there was a national population health survey that was conducted by MOH. Younger adults aged 18 to 29 years old had the highest proportion with mental health compared to other age groups. And it was also found that more females actually...
That's us!
Yeah, and more females than males struggle with their mental health. Yeah, so is that something that you also observe in your field of work?
Definitely, we get more female clients coming to our counselling centre than male clients.
Is it because we're more willing to get help? Or is it because we really are more
Yeah, I
mentally...
think you're right. I think women are more sensitive towards their emotional well-being compared to the guys who usually neglect their emotional well-being.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah.
So
And the
hence we get a
demographic.
lot more women coming from. Probably I would say 70% or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Same for you?
Yeah, it's the same for us.
I like what Clara said. Is it also because, I mean, for the older generation, maybe they're not as exposed to this?
Well, at Kingsmead Centre, which is a Jesuit-run counselling centre, we get a lot more couples and families coming to see us also. So couples with children, teenage children.
Oh,
most
the
of them.
entire family come in?
Yes, at times, but very difficult to get the whole family. But usually the couples will come, husband and wife, in their mid-40s into 50s, and the issues are usually relational issues, not between themselves as well as with their teenagers. Yeah.
What are some factors that you have sort of observed that contribute to their mental health struggles?
I think a lot has to do with relationship between family members, especially, let's say, for example, the teenager and their parents. As they always say, the generation gap. I think it's more than just a generation gap. It is how parents parent their children, how they look at their children, how they care for them, and how the children understand what the parents stands for. So it's a struggle. Yeah. It's a systemic issue, I would say.
Like what Father Charles said, it's developmental issues, peer pressure, right? A lot of them got to do with relationship, and they can't regulate their emotions. Everything becomes very big, so it's hard to handle, and then it becomes, it affects their functioning.
I was going to ask whether the top few cases are actually anxiety and depression.
Yes.
Wow.
So does that mean, right, that like it's between the nature and nurture thing? Are we saying that these mental health struggles are a nurture thing? Are there situations where someone is born with a mental health struggle, or like a chemical?
I like how you put it as nature and nurture. Nature includes genetic, right? The genes that you have.
So it
And
does
when-
contribute?
Yes, and the genes that we have usually comes from where? Our parents.
Yeah.
So,
I was gonna feel bad for saying parents actually.
so I think the important thing for us to understand both, as what you say, nurture and nature, they play a role in the mental health, emotional health of an individual. So we need to put equal emphasis on looking at both. But what we can do is the nurturing part. Nature part, yes, we can do something about it, but the nurturing part is important. They say the G and E, genetics and environment. The interaction between G and E multiplied by E. So G is the genetics, E is the environment. So both interacts, you see.
So actually, when it comes to diagnosis, right? So example, like I know on social media, they say be careful how you label yourself. So example, like a lot of people say, I have OCD, but actually what they mean is that I have a high preference for something, or I'm a perfectionist, right?
Yes.
So you know that's a danger, because OCD is actually very, it's quite
There's always a
traumatic for
danger when you
someone.
label someone.
Correct.
Because that label sticks with you for a long, long time.
No, but what if they are labeling themselves,
Then we need to help them understand what they're putting on themselves, right? If you put on blue glasses, you look at everything blue, right? So you have to be careful what sort of glasses you're putting on, what sort of label you want to put on yourself.
Because when it came to my own mental health journey, I think even trying to say that, I suffered from anxiety or depression, I was very wary because I know some other people had more severe cases. So I was a bit scared to say that I had it. Because, for example, in this OCD case, right, it feels as if you're belittling someone who actually has it, right?
Yeah.
Where actually, when in actual fact, you just mean, like, I have a preference.
Yeah, so I think the question is like, how do you validate the deep struggle that you're going through without also
Belittling someone who actually got a diagnosis.
Yeah, so in a sense, it's like, can I actually say that I have anxiety if I haven't been clinically diagnosed?
I have experienced anxious periods, right? Yeah, so it's just talking about your experience.
Or it's the way we frame it,
Yeah,
is it?
it's the way we frame it. And I don't think anybody will take offense. I don't know, what do you think?
I mean, personally, I don't laugh.
Perfect. Yeah, because I know like online, the OCD one is a very big topic. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
because
know,
of
yeah.
anxiety and depression, okay, like, I think because everyone has, like you said, anxiety is a normal emotion. So that one maybe can close one eye. But depression, I think that's a bit more serious. Yeah, you can't just say, I am depressed. Can you?
Well, if you are,
But
you
depressed
are.
is an emotion also, right? Is it not?
But is it? I always thought depression was a very extreme case of sadness. Is it? No.
But that's so subjective also. Maybe my sadness is very extreme. So like, yeah, how do we validate people who are really going through very deep stuff, but they haven't taken the step to, seek help lah. So because of that, then they haven't been clinically diagnosed.
I mean, if you talk about depression, right,
Yeah.
then there are tools to measure, right? So we use the tools, and then you have to show a cluster of symptoms, like, so if you're talking about depression, you have to at least about 5 clusters. For example, it could be your mood is low, isolating yourself, your appetite, your sleep might be affected, right? You may have increasingly suicide ideation. So you must have a cluster of at least 5.
Right.
Over a
And
period
over
of
a
time.
period of more than 2 weeks.
I see. So if a person was to see those, the clusters, and okay, like I check off the list. Yes, I'm like that, I'm like that, I'm like that. Is it safe for the person to, so I got depression now? Are we saying, no, we shouldn't be doing that anyway? You should, if let's say you've observed that you have these symptoms, go and seek help, essentially, right?
So absolutely. So
Yeah.
if you recognize the symptoms, and that's the wonderful thing about social media, isn't it? You have, that resources available. So the next step is, instead of just labeling yourself, can you help yourself by going and seeing a professional? And that would be useful.
I think the challenge is many young people, they do not go and seek out professionals like counselors, therapies, or even schools counselors, right? So the challenge is here is that they keep to themselves most of the time. Hence, I think social network, good friends, I think they are very important in a person's life. So relationship, building up social relationship, I think is very, very helpful. Because you can use that as a sort of mirror, what's happening to you.
Because one of the reasons why I hesitated to get a counsellor during my depressive time was because actually I didn't trust them. I didn't trust that they could help me. Yeah, so example, at school counsellors, I always heard from my other friends, right, that they were like, okay, but not the best. But if I want to go for a outside school kind of counsellor, in my mind I was like, actually, how can they help me? Like, what's the most that can they help me? That was the thoughts that I had. Yeah.
So I think what's important is for you to know what's out there and the expertise out there. So, if you're dealing with mental health issues, then you should look for a setting where the team, right, a group of therapists are trained in mental health issues to teach you how to cope. Right, so it's not just purely supportive, just talking, but then there are interventions put in place. Yeah, so those things are, I think, useful.
But I think I heard that actually how a client actually gets better faster, right, is when they have a good connection with their counsellor, like a good relationship.
Definitely. We call it therapeutic relationship.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. So
What does that mean? Like,
It's
what
like the
does-
relationship between the counsellor and the
That's
client
right,
it has a good relationship. You can connect, they can
Right.
understand,
Like
that
heart
kind
to
of thing.
heart.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like having a good friend that gets you, that kind of thing. Yeah. So when I heard that, right, then I realized, wow, so I need to go and date counsellors. You know what I mean? Like, why can't my first be my last? Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I mean that thought, and I'm really depressed. So I'm like, wow, I have to exert more energy just to get to know this counsellor.
So the word is therapeutic.
Yeah, right. It sounds so relaxing,
Let's
was
let's put it this way: it's not your hard work. I think the hard work will have to come from the therapist or counselor.
So they have to work for me.
Right. They have to work towards you, work towards getting to know you, and better support you.
But it's like the person have to open the heart over and over again. Then I got to share my whole lifelong journey over and over again.
Well,
break out the
I think counselors like Joyce and other counselors, they have a skill of getting to know you, getting to get that rapport. that relationship going.
There's an art to it.
There's an
So
art.
the idea, I don't know whether, but the idea is to pace with your client, right? If they are not ready, we don't impose, so once the trust is built slowly, you'll be surprised what we will hear, but the idea is, to openly say, you don't know me. So, so take your time.
Oh, wow, oh my gosh, I thought you were saying that the client will say, you don't know me.
They may. No, they may. They may.
No, but I feel like that's such a safe space to even say, right? If the therapist can hold space for the person in that way, that if the person is saying that you don't know me, so I need some time, and the therapist is like, okay, so healing also.
Actually, you sought counselling as well, right? So finding that help, right? How was that experience for you?
Wait, what do you mean?
Like when you were dating, did you date around a lot for counselling? Or was like you found one and then you just stuck with it?
Actually, no. Isn't like because when I applied to Clarity for counselling, Joyce was my first.
Oh.
Yeah.
My first and my... Okay,
So
maybe
what
not
made
the
you
last.
like stick with her and not like I want someone else?
I think we can talk lah.
Okay, that's nice. Was there ever a need where she had to give you feedback?
Feedback?
Like
There's always feedback at the end, right?
At the end, there is always a feedback.
So maybe you could share your mental health journey a little. Like, how did you reach a place where you sought help?
Officially, I've been diagnosed with panic disorder.
Okay.
So, I used to have like panic attacks like every day, and then it became quite like unbearable lah. After my first year exams, I was really like struggling lah with a lot of like anxiety and I think depression. I would wake up in the morning and be like, wow, I don't really want to be alive right now. I think that was when I realized like, wow, that's not right lah, because my life is also a gift from God.
Like, what kind of thoughts did you have that sparked the anxiety? Is it like, what if I fail my exam, it's going to be chaos, that kind of thing?
Feeling like I have to do well in my exams, as I talked about with Joyce, like perfectionism, I guess.
Did you talk to your friends about it, but you felt like, oh, actually their support is not enough, so that's why you needed professional
Like
help?
being vulnerable?
Actually, no, I didn't talk to anyone about it.
Oh, so you immediately sought help with Clarity?
As in, I feel like I let it like grow to a point where it's like I would tell my friends like, oh, actually everything's okay, like nothing is wrong. But then there are like physical symptoms also lah. It's like vomiting. I cannot eat, I cannot drink, I cannot sleep. I have like very high like heart rate also.
So how long had that been, like that journey, before you sought help?
I mean, it was on off. I was first like hospitalized during my A-level year.
Because of anxiety also?
Yeah. Because I wasn't eating or drinking lah, so I was like dehydrated. But then I think after taking medication, it wasn't like every day. It still happens, but it's like less frequent and it's a lot more bearable. So, and then I think therapy helps to supplement also, where like when it happens, right, I learn like breathing techniques. I learn like what Joyce said, like meditation. I feel like it incorporates like faith a bit. I breathe in and I'm like, Jesus loves you. Yeah, things like that. So
Then when you breathe out, leh?
Indeed, he does.
I think it goes this way. G as you breathe in, Jesus. You breathe out, exhale. Inhale, Jesus. Exhale, Jesus.
Right. My interpretation was Jesus loves me.
Yeah.
And then
Indeed, he does.
like a selfie. So I wanted to ask you, like, how did faith play a part for you during when you were alone? Because you didn't talk to your friends about it, right? Did you at least talk to God?
But I think up to a certain extent, I was quite frustrated also at God. Because it's like I'm praying, but there's no... Like, you're not getting rid of, like, this anxiety. You're not getting rid of, like, this depression. So it's like, what am I praying for? Are you really good? Are you really, like, loving me?
Wow. I can't look at you now.
Issue.
No, because I had the exact same thought. I think
Yeah.
initially, because as Catholics, we're always taught to like, just go to your Heavenly Father. God is the only one that gave you the peace that the world cannot give. Then in this moment when I pray to you, where's my peace?
Yeah.
Still give me the peace, where's the peace? Yeah, exactly. That's why I remember writing my journal. I think I had to write an article for work at one point, right? I had to read through all my journals. It's 3 years worth of stuff, yo. Depressing. Yeah. It's just like, why can't I get over this? Like, God, I'm trying to my best to be positive and know that you love me, blah blah blah. But it's just very hard. I think eventually I stopped trying. I was just like, you know what? You're not doing anything, so why bother? Yeah. So I mean, like, for someone like us who's going through that. So how to keep the hope and keep the faith, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's quite a challenging kind of a question, but at the same time also, I believe well-known writers have written a sort of a short story about calling out to God and God not answering. I'm going to tell you a very short one.
please.
It's about this man. He has a big house. Then on came the flood. And when the flood rose, this man said, where is God? So he ran to his second floor and he shouted, God, help me. Then someone came, a boat came. They say, his neighbor came and said, jump into the boat, I'll bring you to safety. He said, no, I'm waiting for God to help me.
I heard this story before.
That's right,
yeah.
Then the flood rose higher and higher, the water went up higher. Then he went to a roof and he shouted, God, where are you? Help me. Then another boat came, another neighbor came. He said, no, I don't need your help. God will help me. Then finally what happened? He died. The flood overwhelmed him. And he died.
The story, but I forgot the ending.
And he went to heaven. He went to heaven and asked God, Dad, where were you? I was shouting and asking for help. God said, I sent you people, one boat, the second boat, but you refuse. So here you are. So this is a kind of an analogy for us to think about. God sends people, individuals, whether to friends, family members, even therapists, counselors, right? The question is, are we willing to accept?
I think Ani could accept it in hindsight. Like in that moment, he sent me some. I'm exactly the guy in the boat. I'm like, you will not get it. No.
It's not the way we want it
Yeah.
to. We want the help to look like, right?
Correct. Yeah. So only after the season kind of passed, then I realized actually, there were many things that I could that God had provided. It's just that, example when you're in that space, right? Some people are like, you need to just write a list of gratitude.
Oh my
Don't
god.
just focus on the negative stuff. I feel you, sis. Wow, I cannot.
Yeah, so okay, so why is that a trigger for you?
It's not as if I'm not grateful enough. It's not as if I'm not praying enough. There are things that I can be grateful for, but at the same time it doesn't solve all my issues
It doesn't mean the struggle doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
I think that's why mental health for me, right? Initially, I felt like I was a problem that couldn't be fixed. I think that's why I stuck in it for so long, because I kept telling myself, what's wrong with me that I can't even get over this? A lot of people who are more mentally better fortitude, they're just it'll pass. Just take a nap. Shut up. So annoying. I was tricking myself. They're like, just get over it. It's okay lah. Just be happy lah. Just we don't understand it. I can be happy. I'll be happy. Right? You want me to? Why do I choose this kind of thing?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's more of I think one thing I learned from the journey was just about being patient. I recognized that it's okay, I suffer now, but it's eventually it does pass. And one thing I learned was to be patient myself.
But for you, how do you step out of that dark place?
Honestly, what Father said, the community.
Oh, okay.
Because I think one major thing for me was the isolation was a big problem for me. Yeah, so I would stay in my room a lot and I was very tired, so I'd sleep a lot. Then my mom would be like, let's go out, let's air you out. She would air me out.
Oh, but your parents were aware?
Yeah, my parents were aware. Yeah, so they tried their best to at least bring me out. I think they recognized being outside helped. Yeah, but I think what truly changed things for me was when I just started getting active in community. Yeah, so example, there was one announcement in church, right? They were like, we need RCIY facilitators. And I was like, I don't want to be a facilitator, but I don't mind going for RCIY. So as I'm already Catholic at that point, but I just wanted to relearn the faith. Yeah, so I just went there just to at least do something with my life. Yeah, but I think that's where I started learning that I had skills to offer, because they asked me to join a service team. So I helped with admin. They actually got to meet a lot of people. And then some people say, hey Clara, you're actually kind of funny. I'm like, I'm funny. So in depression, all I can think about is you suck, Clara, you'll never get better. But I think through community, they just tell me that you are good, you are well. So things I've forgotten, God has shown me through people. Yeah, that is not true. Yeah. So honestly, I think the turning part is obviously battling all the lies.
Yeah. So the community gave you hope.
Yeah.
It gave you hope and movement. I think the fact that you got out and started being active is such an important thing for depression as well. Probably helped you as well. Just getting out of your room. I think your parents did a fantastic job in trying to get you out.
Thanks, Mom.
It's such a important and the smallest first step is actually movement. Yeah.
And actually finding people that would hear me out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think the fact that your parents knew about it, I think it's quite rare. I feel like sometimes people don't dare to share with their loved ones, So even if they seek help, I think when they go to therapists or maybe they speak to friends. But I think when it comes to the family dynamic, it's a bit more iffy. I don't know. Because there's the barrier also in our culture, right? With sharing what's on our heart with our parents, especially. So I think the fact that you could do that with your family was quite great. Yeah.
So actually, could you share with your family about the season?
I think they knew that I was like kind of going through something. And I told them like I was gonna go see like the school psychiatrist lah, and that I would be going to Clarity also. So I think they knew like what was going on. I think it was difficult a bit to accept at first. But I think my mother has like been quite accepting. Oh my gosh, it's super cute because like initially she was like, oh, like you're taking medicine and things like that. But I think like there was one day I came home and then she bought me a book and then it's called The Anxiety Journal. And I was like, oh, yeah.
It's true.
The anxiety what?
Journal. Yeah.
Yeah. Parents try lah.
Yeah.
In their own little
So
way.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I think the most grateful I had for my parents was that they gave me space. Yeah, so even they see me in my bedroom like for like weeks, right? They didn't really force me every day, but they always ask me like, "You wanna go out?" Then I say no. Then they're like, "Okay."
But so sweet that they're so
Yeah.
persistent.
Yeah, I think the pursuing does help,
Yeah.
but knowing when to push and pull was one thing that I appreciated. Yeah, for sure.
The role of parents here, which I think is very crucial and very important to help their child or whoever it is to get better. So parents need to be, we use the term psychosocial education. Right? Psychosocial education, that means parents need to understand the condition of their child, the mental health, let's say for depression. Read as much as possible, try to understand what the child is going through. So it's called psychosocial education. So parents will have to do that. I think that's important. And part of our job is to educate parents on that. To help people with depression, there's always three ways. They are all integrated ways. Medication, I'll come back to that, is one. Second is exercise. Very important, exercise. I think that's what your parents have been doing. Bring you out for a walk. And the third thing is therapy or counselling. So they have to go together, the three. Therapy, what else? Exercise and
Medication.
When you
medication.
say exercise, like really like exercise or just breathing fresh air?
As long as you walk, go out to the park with someone, with your parents, good friends.
Let me ask for Clara. Would the walking pad help? Walking pad meaning you just bring out a walking pad and walk at home.
It's like, what about exercise? Is it the communal aspect, the outdoor aspect?
Outdoor aspect, just walk with
Bring your
someone.
walking pad out.
Yeah, yeah. It's because it produces good hormones in your body, healthy hormones, what they call joy hormones, joyful hormones, right? So it's important to walk, then the body will generate that.
Right.
Same for medication. The medication, in a way, will moderate, calibrate whatever chemistry is inside your body to balance out the chemistry. So medication is important, and that will, you have to see the psychiatrist usually for medication, right? And that will help. And with medication, that's regular medication until a point where you can just slowly, without medication, with therapy and exercise.
The idea is, I think as a therapist, we work with reducing the stigma. And I think I had to do that a little bit with you as well, isn't it? To reducing the stigma, to understand how medication plays a part, and, you know, to be compassionate and take care of yourself, you know, so that you're functioning. And isn't that important? Yeah, your well-being, to take care of yourself, to form relationships, because if you're not functioning, you can't form relationships. And a lot of times isolation and sadness and things like that. Yeah.
Actually, what concerns did you have with the medication?
I think like Joyce says, like the stigma of like, oh, is it because I cannot cope enough by myself? Therefore, I have to take medication. Is it like gonna be addictive?
Yeah, I think so.
Like a hyper independence on it now.
Yeah.
But was the stigma self-inflicted, or you felt like other people were gonna see you that way?
Maybe like a bit of both. Yeah.
Medication is important, that's one. Especially when you are severely depressed. It helps. The other thing is faith, also very important. Because we usually tell our parishioners that faith should be the first resource rather than last resort. So yes, medication is important, but your faith will help you also. It's a great resource for you to get better. So it goes both hand in hand.
I think that's why people might have a stigma to medication because they feel like, well, what, so my faith not strong enough, or I don't trust God enough,
Or am I
then need
altering the
medication.
way I'm made?
Yeah,
You know?
maybe I just need to exercise.
Well, I think people have that kind of idea or notion, but we always remember we are not only physical being, we are also spiritual being. That's what the famous theologian, as well as geologist, Teilhard de Chardin, a Jesuit priest, he says we are spiritual being having a physical experience. All of us are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So hence when we talk about depression, you always have to look at it both ways, physical as well as spiritual.
Wow, so actually, are you saying that because of a spiritual thing, that's why we have mental health issues? That's
yes
one question I had.
and
So
no.
example, like,
Yes and
they
no.
say we're fallen creatures and the whole sinful nature thing. Maybe
Yeah.
that's why we're not perfect.
Well, I think that it's a yes and no, yeah? Right. I remember one old professor of mine in counseling psychology, Father Tanseko, over at the Philippines, the Ateneo University. He mentioned that we are, whatever physical issues we have, is always connected to spiritual issues. And whatever spiritual issues we have, it is always connected to physical issues. So you cannot separate one from the other.
But does mental then fall under spiritual or physical?
Mental is both physical and spiritual. You can look at it that way. Because we recognize that we are not only physical beings, we are spiritual beings also. I think the word is holistic approach to helping a person. And this is where therapy is going towards, a holistic approach in helping. That's why in schools we teach the BPSS, the bio, psycho, social and spiritual. In order to help a person, we have to look at it from this four perspective.
We are just like, because we're like, wow, that's a lot.
Or acronym.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's important to look at it from the medical perspective as well as the spiritual, to help the whole person. We are not piecemeal work. You see.
Because I know one question some Catholics have is that, why did God even give me mental health issues if He loves me so much? So initially just I was asking you whether there was an origin to that. Is it the whole like sin? That's why we have to suffer.
Sometimes the question we ask may not be that appropriate. Right?
That's not a good question.
It's not a good question, but the question we ask is that we make certain assumption. If God is good, therefore God has to cure me. Right?
No, but especially for those who are born with it, you know, they'll be like, but why did Jesus make me that way? Yeah, why wasn't I made perfect?
And what is perfection? None of us, we are perfect, right? None of us, we are perfect. So all of us, we have certain, for lack of a better word, idiosyncrasy, right? We have our strength, we have our weaknesses. So we need to know what our strengths are, build on that. Our weaknesses, our limitation, we attend to it. Either with a group of people or with professionals. I think that's important because we don't live in isolation.
So what's the perspective we should have towards God if He has given us this cross? So how should we view it so that He can still view as a loving Father? Because like another thing I'm thinking about, right, is did you give me this mental health issue so that you can teach me to trust you? But if that's the case, can't you teach me in another way? You know what I'm saying?
Well, God doesn't give person mental health issues. Because of our own human being. I mean, we have, some people are taller, others are shorter, right? So you can't say, why God, why don't you create me as tall as the other person, right?
Blame my parents.
Yeah, you're right. The
You're right!
the genes that we have, right? Where do we get our genes from? Our parents. And when we look at a person with mental health, usually we look at family history, right? Depression runs across generations or through generations.
But then, right, if let's say we're looking at family history, if let's say, for example, my grandparent had depression, but it wasn't like a genetics thing, it was more of like because of trauma, right? Then that wouldn't translate into, and come to me, will it?
I mean, the thing is that let's say a child, and a mom has depression. So let's say mom has depression. She may not be available to you because she's so consumed with what she's feeling. She's not maybe able to care for the child, read social cues, address to the child's needs. So there could be some neglect there, not intentionally because she doesn't have the capacity, right? So then, what you'll see is that the child now, maybe emotionally underdeveloped, not be able to regulate, and that so then could be very destructive in trying to get her or his needs met, and then it just goes on that way. That is what Father Charles is talking about, the environment. So that could be a factor as well, apart from genetics.
Okay, so back to the question about how to view God. So God is loving. It's just that humans are out of whack. Is it because of sin? Then it's just the natural cause is we just affect each other so negatively.
I think the important thing is that we need to recognize that we are love sinners, not we are sinners. We are love sinners. Despite our sinfulness, God continues to love and care for us. So I think you have put the word love in front of sinners, right? So when we realize that we are love sinners, then the way we look at God will be very different. Our God is a God of compassion and love. And God works through people around us that cares for us, especially your parents, maybe your good friends and so forth. Right? Remember the analogy that I took about the man saying knowing to all his friends in the flood, no? So the question is, are we willing to let our friends love us?
So actually, it's the goal for the faith and counselling, right? It's just to help the person get in relation with people again.
One
To
of the
reconnect.
factors to reconnect, yeah.
What are the goals in general?
So I think reconnecting with any, another, because we are all meant as human not to live alone. We are meant to connect. We're meant to live in a community. So when you take that away and you isolate, you can't function. And so a matter of time before you spiral. Right? So interpersonal relationship is such a huge thing. So helping them to master that skill, so the goals could be getting out of depression. I want to function again, right? So then you work with like what Father Charles said, exercise, behavioral work, just getting out of the house, just opening out your windows, and then working from that. Then maybe medication, exploring whether you need, if you just can't even do the behavioral work, then slowly when they are in a right space, then maybe we can work with their beliefs or developmental issues, what happened to them growing up. So it's actually step by step, and then helping them to connect and function. If they have not gone to work, how can you bring them to a place where employment isn't? They can be employed again. So it really depends. Learning to correct maladaptive beliefs, because they may have I'm not worthy, God doesn't love me, I can't trust anybody, everybody's out to damage me, right? So then we work with those beliefs, right? So actually therapy work, there's a lot of components to it.
It sounds like there's a lot of patience involved. I mean, as a therapist or a counselor, it feels like I need to keep on dissecting things, and it feels like a very long process.
I think our growth is a lifelong process.
Yeah.
Therapy it doesn't have to be a lifelong process, right? But our growth, I think with awareness, right? And once they learn certain skills, you can let them go and fly. And then as things arise, hopefully they can use the skills, that was taught to cope. And if they really can't, and sometimes in our life, things happen, right? We're not in control, and our brain, takes over, and we go into fight or flight state, and we need help, and we seek help.
Right. So do you have experiences of clients, like recovering, and then like after a certain period of time, do you see them coming back again to seek help?
Definitely.
Okay. It's normal in that sense.
It's a normal relapse. Let's say relapse. It's a actually normal process of recovery. It's a lot of learning from your relapse. What are your triggers? What happened? What are your stress factors? And some people, certain like bipolar and all that. Stress can be a huge trigger. Sleep can be a huge trigger. So let's say you're a student, and you got exams and you give up your sleep, and then you start relapsing. So then just teaching them, looking at it to manage it. Yeah, so relapse is just part of recovery. It doesn't mean that you're failed or weak or anything like that, no.
But like I think sometimes when we go through difficult seasons or so, for some of us we go to spiritual directors, right? So like it does also sound like sometimes spiritual direction can help us dissect things, process things, and try to see where Christ is in that situation. So how would like someone know whether I should seek help with a spiritual director or a mental health professional?
Over at Kingsmead Centre, we have both services, counselling and spiritual direction. Spiritual directors usually have some skills in counselling. Those are essential skills. But their emphasis is on spirituality, where God is in the person's life. So at times it's helpful for an individual to seek a director if the condition is not very severe. If the person feels like I'm going to depression, who should I seek? I would say go and see a counselor or therapist first, right? Then from there, if the counselor and therapist make the assessment and say probably this person needs psychiatric help, that means medication, then that person will be referred to see a psychiatrist.
Wow, so many steps.
Yeah, but the basic thing is that I would say check with your friend or good friend. Your good friend can be a mirror to you to tell you, whether you're functioning or not functioning. Family members are the one, those who live close to you.
Also, the nuance is whether you're functioning, is it?
Yes. Maybe two things. You're able to function, able to care and love. Right? Function means able to work. What is to be a human person is be able to love and to be loved.
But you know, right? Taylor Swift has this song.
Very
I can do it for broken heart. I was just listening
Yes,
to it.
right.
I was listening to it this morning.
I mean, these phrases have been used long time
Yeah,
ago.
because
by
there
different
are people, right, who maybe they are struggling with their mental health, but they can still function like from 9 to 5 sort of thing, and then go home and I cry myself to sleep. Yeah, then like, you know.
It's not that healthy, right? When you cry yourself to sleep. So I would say there are difference between all these are technical terms, neurosis and psychosis, and people who have just going through a bad patch of life, you see. And I think those people will get help from friends, good friends. Check with your good friends. If you find that your good friend is telling you, go and get some professional, I think it's important to listen to them.
But then, right, as a friend, I don't feel like I've ever said that to someone. Like
I wonder why.
you know, because I don't know whether it might come across like very critical, like you need help. You know?
Just being honest, right? I mean, you tell another person.
You don't say it.
Okay, yeah. So do it in a nice way. I mean, not the easy way.
I feel that you shouldn't wait till the last minute before you seek help, right? So as a friend, so once I see a certain sign, I'm like, you might want to consider a professional. Or should I be a good friend and then a listening ear until jialat, then I'm like, you need help, bro.
This is out
Out of my job scope.
Absolutely. So know your limits.
Yeah.
Know your limits because the best thing you can do is to direct them.
Or accompany them.
Yeah,
Your
like go
limits.
down with them, right? Yeah. Last time I had a bad patch also, and then one of my friends accompanied me. I mean, it wasn't about therapy. It was more of like to see a priest to talk about something I was going through. So my friend did accompany me there, like wait for me there while I go and speak to a person. Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
Actually, being a therapist will take a toll on you.
Yeah.
It's good to set your boundaries and support them and guide them to seek help. And especially with depression, I think with depression, we take depression very seriously because if it's not taken care of, suicidal ideation comes in, right? So you want to take care of yourself and you can actually work through it. You know, there's a cure either through therapy and medication, right? So there's actually hope.
But as a friend, at what point should I point my friend to a
From the
therapist?
earliest point. Because you don't wait.
So the moment she just, I'm
She's
sad,
crying.
cool.
Okay, not that way.
I don't know.
She's like, no, I'm not a therapist.
I think you can see signs where they repeat, they come, they call you again and again, and then you find that, oh no, I can't take this anymore.
But you know, it's a bit scary, right? Like if my friend tells me all that, or if I see my friend being in a dark place and I like, go see a therapist, my fear is that like, what if one day my friend says, I don't want to tell you anymore because you always direct me to someone else.
Dismissive.
Yeah, then like, what do I do with that?
No, I just care for you. I just cannot help you. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I care for you, Oh, I think it's important, let me help you. Why don't we go together? What are your fears of going to therapy, or I've known people that it's been very helpful. So you remove the stigma, and you soften it for them, right? And then, to try and guide them to go.
I think for me as a Catholic, I feel stressed and obligated to be a listening ear for people who are like sad. So they're like, Clara, can I talk to you? And I'm sad. I'm like, okay, I'll listen. Yeah, but I think for me, I do ask them to go for professional help, but sometimes maybe due to whatever reason, like cost or no time, whatever, they cannot go, right? Then I have this feeling as if I'm their only hope. Yeah. I think for me that's stressful. Then I burn out. Then after a while I feel like a terrible human being.
Then you need to go and seek help.
I feel so bad. Like, am I not loving enough, or like my love is not strong enough that I cannot even listen to my friend?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's where the guilt, the Catholic guilt comes in.
Yeah.
The humbling part of it was like, I realized I cannot do anything. I really had no control. After a while, it's really that friend just needs to make a decision to do something, and I cannot force them to do it.
We first have to recognize that our friends are not trained as counselors or therapists or whatever, right? They're friends, right? So they have limited knowledge about counseling, about whatever therapy it is, right? Or even about your condition. So one thing friends can do is, as you said very well, is to listen. And sometimes listening can help a great deal. Listening to the person. And it will be very helpful if through the listening you can, here again I say they are not trained, right? They can say, this is happening very often. And it's taking a toll on me also as a friend. So you need to be brave enough if you are really a true friend. Say, look here, this is not going to help. As much as I want to help you, I have my limits and I don't think I'll be able to do that. So it's better for you, I can go along with you to see a counselor or therapist or whatever. Right? I think that's very important, to be brave enough. And this is part of our Christian responsibility, right? If you say about to be a good Christian is, I go with you.
And I think it's also for you to know, right? When you speak to your peers, you have a certain expectation for them to resolve things for you. So in therapy, sometimes what we do is to set their expectations that they are just like you. They have their own issues. They don't have the expertise. So sometimes it's teaching them that you cannot expect that from your friend. Because they are so disappointed. The friends can't help them. So it's also, again, it's helping them to understand from the other perspective that, it's far better for you to go and see a therapist than to expect a peer who may be actually just struggling just like you, and they may be actually scared, lost. So what they do, sometimes they avoid. It's very common, and I get that my friends avoiding me, then because they're scared themselves.
Wait, whose friends are
Like
avoiding
the
who?
supporting
The
friend
supporting
goes the struggling
Oh
friend.
no, really?
Because they can get scared themselves, or it may just be too much,
Right.
and they don't know because they are also young.
Yeah.
Right, immature. They're also struggling with their identity, and it's just they're not matured enough. So sometimes helping them also to understand the other perspective,
Right.
it can be also useful.
I feel like some people might feel, that like if let's say someone suggested for me to go see a therapist or something, I might feel like, but my situation isn't very bad. I'm not the worst of cases, right? So do I deserve that kind of attention and help? And so what would you all say to that?
I think there's no harm. I see therapy as actually just similar to going to seeing a life coach. What does it do? Self-mastery, isn't it? What's the worst that you can have? Actually, you learn tools, right? To regulate your emotions, to grow as a person. So you don't lose out, or nothing bad can come out of therapy.
In one season of my life, which, I was in quite a dark place as well. And then I did think, should I go seek help? Because I was also like isolating quite a bit, spiraling, a lot of like dark thoughts and all that. But for me, in a practical sense, therapy or counselling always seemed very expensive to me, because I know of cases, right, where people go see a therapist, speak for like 1 hour, and then maybe have a medicine, and the bill is like $1,000. I don't have $1,000 to like spend every month, man.
$80 to like $180.
No. So I'm like, I can't do that. I'll just self-manage.
Come to clarity. Because you can ask for a fee waiver, there's no check. It's trust basis, because the organization was set up to make it available to everybody.
Talking about paying fees and all, you can get it for free sometimes in certain places, right? In certain health organizations.
Yeah, but I always thought that I had to prove that I'm poor and I can't afford. So please give me help.
The other thing that I'm thinking of is friends helping friends. Friends with basic training in what we call peer counseling. In some schools here, you have training peer counselors, right? So the idea here is, can we help also our Catholic youth, Christian youth, to help each other by providing them with basic skills? I was in Micronesia as a missionary during the COVID time in high school. And what I did there was basically to help young people help themselves by teaching them basic skills in counseling. They call it the lip skills. LEAP, leap skills. How to listen to a friend, how to empathize, how to affirm, and when needed only, offer perspective. And these are skills that can be taught to anyone.
Can I ask, right, for a school setting, I mean, just now we're talking about school counsellors. I remember when I was in school and there were school counsellors as well, I feel like one of the concerns was always that, you know, what if I share with my school counsellor and then they go and tell my teacher? You know, then my teacher go and tell my parents. So, like, at least among my friends, right? So, like, is there some form of, like, I don't know, guideline that, you know, you cannot tell people?
The confidentiality.
Yeah.
Where does it stop and
Even in schools?
Okay, school, it's supposed to.
Unless you are a danger to yourself.
Or you're going to, like, kill yourself kind of thing.
Yes.
Right.
That's where we have to break confidentiality, which is, I think, is important. Because for your own health, I think, mental health.
So even as a friend, right, what is the level of confidentiality I should keep with my friend? So example, they say, don't tell anybody, I just want to only let you know. But as a receiver, when should I be like, oh, red flag, I need to tell somebody?
So what happens if somebody's come and called you and said, I'm going to kill myself?
I'm like, what do you mean? Where are you?
Right, so that you know, you have to, when you see some danger.
Yeah, but that's an extreme case, for sure. Like if it's you're gonna kill yourself, police. Yeah, but if it's a small,
But how we know it's small?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Take all the threats of suicide seriously. That's what I say.
Suicidal in
Take whatever threats of suicide seriously, because you never know what happens next.
If let's say, right, at a point of time, did anyone say, like, I'll pray for you? And how do you feel about it? Was it like annoyance?
Wow, honestly a bit
Right. I would imagine it to be also.
Yeah, because it's like they're like, oh, I will keep you in prayer. Then I'm like, bro, that doesn't even do anything for me.
That's the best you can do.
But what do you really want? What do you think that the friend can do for you?
That just like comfort lor. Because sometimes it sounds a bit like dismissive also, you know. It's like when people are just like, oh, thanks for sharing, I'll pray for you. I'm like, wow, okay.
I
thanks.
just poured my heart out to you, and that's all you say?
Yeah. But I think like just like that comfort, like, oh, like, yeah, you must be like going through a lot. Yeah, I am.
Then I wonder if somebody has just said, you know, I really don't know how to help you, but I'm here with you. Would that be better?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But do you think there's still some kind of stigma? I mean, maybe for yourself, like, since you went through that journey, right? Like, do you feel like there was a stigma when you were thinking of going seek help?
I think in general, a bit lah. It's like, wow, like I'm too weak. That's why I need to go and seek help. Yeah. To me, when I was considering at that point, right, it was between, would I rather get to a point where I am going to start to think about how I'm going to take my life, or would I rather seek help? I'd rather not like get to that point also. So I'd rather seek help. But at the same time, it's like there's a lot of doubts also. Like, oh, maybe I'm not praying enough. Maybe I'm not like a good enough like Christian.
Probably because of your prayer, and that prayer helps or helped you to seek counselling help. Right? Whether you think it's...
Whoa.
I'm just thinking.
The footprints, yo.
Yeah. So there may be some truth in some grace in your prayer. That the prayer in a way helps you to make a decision, a good decision.
But I do
in the
think that
midst of it.
sentiment is, I mean, you're not the only one who has that. I think that people within, I mean, the Catholic circle who are involved in church, if they do encounter some kind of mental health situation, that some would really think, no, like is it because I'm not doing something right? That's why, you know, I can't process my thoughts properly. That's why I'm struggling with things. Yeah, I think it's quite
Natural to have that thought.
Right.
So maybe we should help others to reason it this way. It's because of your constant prayer or your regular prayer, or at least you pray a certain time, no? Of the day, of the year, of the week, no? That has helped you to seek help.
I feel like sometimes in within the church scene, right, like there might be a perspective that if someone struggles with their mental health, that they're not a model Catholic or a healthy Catholic. And so for some, I mean, in some circles, it could be that because someone struggles with their mental health, they cannot do certain things in community. What would you say to that? Would you agree that if you struggle with your mental health, means you're not a good Catholic?
I think the logic is always problem, the logic here. If I have mental health, that means I'm not a good Catholic. If, then, right? So the logic is not right in the first place. If the rains, the street will get wet. What happens if the street is under a shelter? So it doesn't rain, it's not wet, right? So I think sometimes the logic we tell ourselves, these are what I call illogical. Though it may sound very logical, right?
But sometimes it's like what people say to them, you know. So because they are because they know that someone's struggling with mental health, then they say, okay, we're not gonna allow you to do certain things.
Maybe in good faith. If you are drunk, you are not supposed to operate heavy machineries, right? So if a person have, let's say, for example, depression, self-harm and all that, I wouldn't encourage the person to do, go out alone and go to the forest and do certain things, right? Camping and all that. You have to take it step by step to help the person recover.
But would it not be hurtful to the individual to be robbed of the opportunity to serve God? You know what I mean?
Well, God can be served better if you get well. Following the instruction of the doctors, the instructions of your therapist or your friend, right? Good friends, right? Go out, take a walk in a park. That's much better.
So it's like knowing your triggers, but at the same time, the community also can work with you on what you can and cannot help with.
Yeah.
But what if it comes from a place of judgment? You know what I mean? Like, because if let's say we're saying focus on your mental health first, but like, what if, I mean, it's a long process, then will I never get to serve God while I'm trying to heal me? Because all of us are also going through something, what?
By being healed, by helping yourself, getting healed, you are serving God.
So at what point can I start?
You are starting by helping to get yourself healed.
Until I'm fully healed?
Yes.
Huh, really?
That means that's how you serve God. By getting well, God wants all of us to get well so that we can be of service to others. Right? I think that's it. But before I give, I need to know what I'm giving. If I do not have 20 cents, I cannot give you 20 cents. So if I am severely depressed, I cannot be of service. So when you are better, you can always serve. And part of serving, the process of serving others is to get well yourself.
But this feels quite discriminatory, I feel. Like if let's say I'm trying to step out of the dark place and one of it is by me serving. So for example, if Clara went to serve in RCIY, right? And then someone tells her that, no, you cannot because you are... Yeah, but you know, that is her step of trying to step out of her isolation. Yeah, so...
Then I'll put it this way. By serving others, you are in the process of healing yourself. Right? And that's the service itself. So this is part of what I call exercise, getting out of your dark places or dark hole and getting to meet people. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of determination to do that, courage to do that, to get out of that dark hole and go out to reach out to others.
I guess it depends where they are in their mental health journey.
And what kind of
Their
role they
correct.
want to...
Yeah. Because for me, mine was still functional. Like I was sad but in terms, I was still somewhat functional. But in extreme cases, like what maybe fathers trying to say, right? It's like you're really very, very bad. Anything can trigger you. And you still want to serve. Actually, the best service you can do right now is to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take care of myself, then I can take care of others. Kind of thing. Yeah. So I guess so mental health is a spectrum.
Yeah.
There's a spectrum, yes, it is. So, you know, if your mind is so disorganized and you can't think, and if you're going to, you're trying to serve, but then you're also very hypervigilant and, you know, you can't really function, right? Then you're not in a place to help as well, right? Yeah, so like what Charles said, go and take care of yourself.
Thank you for watching this episode of TBH. If there are any other topics you would like us to discuss about, please leave it in the comment section below.
Like, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I think for me, I may have like misunderstood the faith because another Bible verse is a true friend lays a life for the other. I really died.
I will kill my mental health for you.